There we go. Good morning officially again. What I'd like to do is just go around the room quickly. You can just say your first name, where you're from, or what program you might be in. I'll start with teacher of the day. Go ahead.
I'm Molly and I teach FoRT at Trinity.
Welcome, Molly. Go ahead.
I'm Cameron. I'm in the elementary ed program online.
Oh, Reese, used to teach there years and years.
I'm Michaela. I teach third grade at Cross Trainers Academy. I'm doing technically my student teaching right now, but since I've been there for so long, I'm able to student teach.
Oh.
Job.
Good. Are you on the online accelerator?
Yes.
And in the middle?
I'm Rachel and I teach at St. Paul and Grafton Kindergarten.
Wonderful.
I'm William John. I'm an online student accelerated program and my goal is I'm teaching middle school science in Hartford right now for student teaching. My goal is to teach middle school science, so I'm a little meh on the teaching, learning to read and the FoRT test. So
All right.
But middle school didn't have to.
no, I'm K through 8.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
I'm
where
K through 8.
that's where they get you.
It was much easier to do my program K through 8, which is fine.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
We'll help you
So
get over the
not
hurdle.
it's not zero reading, teaching you to read in middle school. It's just kind of less. So I'm
Yes.
a little nervous. I'm not as good at that. So
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll go through a lot of the structures and terms which are important.
mhm.
So I'm Dr. Stephen Witt. I've been at Concordia forever. 17 years.
I know, I can say that one.
Yeah. Well, I met Cheryl at the onset. I think she was 21 then.
Yeah. I wish.
You can introduce yourself.
Cheryl Karen and I taught in the graduate program for many, many years, and then Dr. Witt came on board and I worked for him. And then I moved to the undergrad, taught many years, and we've done lots of
PD.
conferences and professional development and everything special at St. John's in Glendale. Right now.
And so here we go. And I will send the PowerPoint. All the links are on the PowerPoint that we'll give you and other resources as well.
And stop it, raise your hand, just ask the questions, okay? Please do not feel funny to ask, but please just ask.
So we have all the studies resources linked. And if the link isn't open to you, you can just ask me for it. So we're going to talk about tips, suggestions, breathing and praying. Make sure as you register, how many, anybody registered for a test, that you have the score sent to Concordia. And this is what you are aiming for. Required to get a 233. It used to be 240. They changed the test, made it a little more interesting, and you send the results to Concordia. Here are the links to where you click on to get your seat, center locations. It's all computerized. What do we have? Yes.
So if you take I graduate in December, if I take it after I graduate, does it still get sent here and then?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
you just have to click on the
Yeah,
link where to go.
okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There's alternative options for those with disabilities or ELL learners that you can find on that website as well. They still do have some COVID exemptions. If something comes up with an illness, you can't take anything in with you. It's all computerized. You do receive a laminated sheet if that's what you did get, right?
Right, marker, everything, locker, everything goes into a locker. Years ago, the students would say if they had long hair, they'd go through their hair. Boots, they check your boots. Jewelry, they checked, they think you're gonna cheat with jewelry. So right, they nothing. And if you have to go to the bathroom, you gotta check back in again. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a pain, put it that way.
They make it like passing the bar, which is the
Yeah,
license bar for teaching reading. So now I get this here. There we go. Here are the 4 domains. Hopefully you've learned through your program the different foundation of reading development is oral language development from the lowest print concepts, print environment, starting to get into phonemic awareness. And then as you go into development of reading comprehension, that goes into more fluency, comprehension, vocabulary. And then assessments. How do you use assessments to guide and drive your instruction? And even what interventions might be used. So, and then integration of knowledge and understanding is just application. They're coming up with larger scenarios that you'll have to read through, and that's where you need to know the terminology. It won't be matching morphology to what it is, but it'll be inside of the question, and we'll go over questions. And we're not just about the right answer, but why. So that'll help you think through.
The foundations of reading development, if you go on Wisconsin's foundations, what DPI requires, that'll give you a nice good list in order of what 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds need with phonemic awareness. So that's a good also resource, Wisconsin DPI.
Right.
Wisconsin standards, because that's what you might have to use that language foundations of reading. And
Right.
when we do the running record, we'll talk about
Yeah,
that.
so there's 2 open responses.
Yeah.
And we have a framework, and you have it in your packet. So here is how the test breakdown goes, just so you know when you're walking in. The test, the objective, and then this is the test item, which they pulled from Foundation of Reading. Which one of the following nonsense word is the vowel sound likely to be the same as the vowel sound in the word on? First strategy is to, what you might do with your young readers is to whisper read, because that helps you on. So as you read those to yourself, which one do you think that would be? Yes,
They don't let you read out loud at all.
you can't whisper?
No, like I was like whisper reading it out loud just so like I could like read
Yeah.
it, and they will not let you the place I did it at, they were like, nope, you can't do that. I was like, I'm so sorry.
Where did you take your test at?
I took it on North Avenue, I can't exactly
Milwaukee.
remember. It was in Milwaukee, yeah. Yeah, so like,
that feedback, we were able to cover your mouth.
yeah, so I wonder if it's just that location now, cause that lady, it was kind of, and she was walking through, so it was kind of distracting too, so then I would get thrown off.
Oh.
So I don't know if it was just that location,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So say it in your head.
Yeah.
But it's for this
We wanna kind of.
yeah, so you could hear it, I don't know.
Right, no, that's what we've been telling people, so that's interesting now.
So if you say on,
Uh,
and then
So look at where you're out and pay attention to where the vowels are. That's
Right.
the other trick,
which goes on.
Take a guess.
Take a guess. Oh,
What do you think?
ga, very good. Science. So these are more of the breakdown, roughly 43, 45 questions on awareness. That's the foundations of reading. And like I said, reading development or comprehension brings in vocab. A lot of times these are 3rd grade and above.
Right.
No, and then they are providing more 5th and 6th grade questions in there. And then the assessments, multiple approaches. They don't allow the MCV, the running record.
Oh, yeah, this view analysis.
Yeah. There is a heavy focus, as you know, now with the science of reading on that. And about 1 out of 15 is English language learners, where you want to be very visual with English language learners. Really, what you teach with English language learners is best practice with all learners. So this is what will help prepare, like Lombardi once said, prepare, practice. And we have a bunch of practice tests from California, Texas, Wisconsin. And then you we have to commit these terms to memorization. What is a morpheme? What's morphology? What's syntax? And there's flashcards on Quizlet. that you can just, which is an app. And then we have the framework. If you know the framework for the two open responses, have that, then you just have to pick out the strengths and the weaknesses, and now the intervention that matches what they need help or support with. Oh, this is getting in the way, but the National Reading Panel in 20 years ago or so came out with explicit systematic instruction, and many to most students need that with phonics or phonemic awareness. And this is any discussion of the cueing systems or use of context clues be considered a backup plan. So they don't want kids to look at the picture, use context clues around that, or constructing their meaning based on the semantics. The semantics is the meaning of the sentence or the word. These are the areas that they focus on, especially in writing, the responses back, literal comprehension, inferential, engagement of schema, self-monitoring. Any words?
The terms that you really should know, that looks like.
Yeah, any of those muddy, not clear?
Engagement scheme.
Using your background knowledge as you're reading, they're applying it, and usually they'll say, oh, this reminds me of, or something, they pull some information from what they have learned in their life, that's pretty much it. And
Yeah.
many of the questions, always think, Dr. Wood mentioned, be very specific, like how would you really teach this? You're not just gonna say, okay, let's just play a game or look around the room, it's gotta be, you're teaching specifically that particular sound or blend or whatever you do.
And how would they activate the
Right.
schema, whether it was a book they've read before,
Right.
experience they've had, maybe it might be an urban context or suburban. And self-monitoring is that questioning that they do. So this is a little hard to read, and I think we have this in the packet. So here is the framework, and academic language is using those terms we just went over: schema, self-monitoring, inferential. So name the strength in the paragraph, then the weakness. Is it Karen? Karen identifies whatever one we had in there. Something like that. Thus, in her reading, the next pair, the weakness in, because you want to find multiple patterns of where she has the strength, multiple weaknesses for the running record. Interesting, they use a running record, but not the cueing
Yeah.
system. Refer to the specific terms in parentheses. So this one is fuzzy, but Joe appears to have a weakness in the use of phonics. Specifically then, vowel digraphs.
Now, can I just back it up?
You can
When-
go ahead.
When you go in and take the test, we're gonna suggest that you do your responses first.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the first thing you do. Now, I think you can toggle back and forth, right? This takes a lot of brain work. Rest of once you get past the two responses, it's all gonna be multiple choice, okay? So, but you can always go back. So we're suggesting, when you go in, start with your written responses first. Yes.
Is the responses the like most weighed part of the test?
They have 20%.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
wow,
do.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they score it out of a 1 to 4. If you get a 3, that's really good. But that can really hurt if you get a 1 or a 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're suggesting do these first, get them over with, because this is where you're gonna have to do all the writing also. know.
And then you can come back and read them with fresh eyes because they take off for grammar
Right.
and other things.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah, see, so, do these first, get your brain ready, and then go to the multiple choice. As I said, you could always toggle back and say, oh, I wanna put this word in my answer. So we do have a really nice framework for you, all right? So in
Yes.
your little packet that we have a couple of things for both two different responses, all right? So there's a running record response, and then there's also one for the comprehension part, where you're listening to a child retell a story, all right? So this kind of goes back to what Dr. Wood just showed you, but your first is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs that you wanna work on. All right, and what they're looking for is, what is the strength of that student? That's the first thing you wanna look for, and this is where you can use your little whiteboards or whatever they give you,
Yeah.
write down. Right away, the running record, look to see what's a strength, what is that student doing really well? And I always say, look at sight words first. Believe it, because when I do a running record with a student, do they know their sight words? Do they know who, what, when, where, how, why? Okay, and most of the kids are gonna be third graders, usually. That's what we pretty much see.
Right, because they can, yeah.
Cause you get a little more meat from
Yeah.
a third grader, you know.
And this is the step. So when you practice these with,
Yes.
and there's not a lot, but there's some sample open
Right.
responses. So identify and name the strength like they did. They said it was in the category of phonics. And then she went further, I think it was vowel digraphs.
Right.
So you got to know di means two, graphs are the letters. And then in the next paragraph, the weakness. So that's in your mind, like the opening paragraph. What are the weaknesses? And then you're going to come back with each of those with the identifying what they are with patterns from and we'll do a practice. The evidence, 3 or more examples, and then the wrap up, which has changed now, it's going to be identifying interventions for the weakness.
So as long as you back it up, and that's why by writing down, you're looking for patterns. Always say, okay, well, they know all these sight words. Okay, that's a strength if they know a lot of sight words and they're a third grader. Are they using blends? They know all their blends. Are they able to decode a multi-syllable word that's in there? So keep in mind, what are they doing well, and get a couple examples. So looking for patterns. And the same thing with the weakness. When you choose a weakness, look for what patterns there are. Do they have a lot of, there are a lot of sight words they don't know? Or are they really messing up, multi-syllable words in decoded? So you want to know what they're doing well, and then a weakness, and just support it. And if you support it and use the right language, then you're good. I think
Right.
they just want to know, do you know what you're talking about?
Right. Do you see
Okay.
compound words? They're pausing,
Right.
double pauses, and they do provide a key at the bottom.
Right,
For
so
those.
in your booklet, there should be something that looks like this, and it says framework for open response, a running record. So this is the framework that we are suggesting you practice and you use. It looks like this, your packet, okay? Looks like that, and it lists exactly how you should start it. Blank, it demonstrates a significant strength in the foundational skills. That's a good keyword to use, because it's going to be some kind of phonics with the kids, right? So that's where that, you can go onto DPI and look at what Wisconsin requires for the foundational skills. Then it says, give examples from the running record. Then your second, so it's short and sweet. And I'd say 2, 3 examples. Then the need, significant need in foundational skills. Again, you list what's the need. They don't know they're not looking at their blends, they don't know their endings, they don't know how to decode a multi-syllable word and give examples, right? Then the third part of this, your next paragraph, is what are you going to do? And be very specific. And usually they're looking for one-on-one, this child will need one-on-one specific instruction in, I would use making words. I would use Laconian boxes with the student. So be very specific in what you're going to do. And then why? Why is this going to help them? Yeah.
If you use not the right vocabulary words, does that get points off? So say that you're explaining it and it's not the higher level vocab words, are you gonna get dock points?
I would think the academic words. So if you go back 2 pages, I'll just.
Yes, you keep it back.
Yeah, so we're back to where it says, right after the first.
Right.
Supporting the student with the analysis. So consider These are the broad categories. Use of phonics. That's what you have to look at, like that. Well, this is the lens when you look at it. Phonemic awareness.
I don't know yet.
Analysis of word structure. These are more phonemic analysis and syllabication.
Right, so that's looking at the syllables, you know, because one of the big things is with phonics now is teaching how to decode a word, how to break it into syllables, consonant, vowel, consonant, that type of thing.
So when you're doing the running record, have those 5 things that you're looking for strengths or weaknesses. So you can just like cue those in. And then what can we tell from the words? Look for broad patterns under those. Bless you. And then make a list of those words on your sheet. You know, what's happening here? Phonics, phonemic awareness, endings might be cut off. Analyze the errors, like you do T chart, strengths and weaknesses on one side. And that, you know, helps you with that first paragraph.
Right.
And then the patterns for the next, you know, what are the multiples? Then Cheryl's the expert. Well, if you look on the right side.
Go to the next,
Next page,
yeah, this is a great example of helping yourself when you're in the test. So it says use of phonics, all right, so this is like a little chart for yourself when you're sitting down looking at that running record. Can they decode words, like long words, again, high frequency words, all right, and then their fluency. Usually, the fluency is, if, you know, once they're reading, there's not a lot of pauses, but they really don't, we're finding that's not the biggie.
Yeah,
It's
fluency
the
is, could
structure
be
now.
choppy, but because you really, interventions would be repeated readings and that's,
Right,
yeah.
which is easy, but what they're looking for more is how are you gonna teach them to decode words using syllables? So you can see this example has the strengths and then the weaknesses. So again, keep a list is where you can do this, keep a list in your head or on the paper. So you're kind of comparing, oh yeah, look at all these words. And these all are multi-syllable. Well, these all have words don't have, they're just not doing the blends properly or the ending properly. So this is a little chart to help you tell what to do.
So now I think we'll go to Olivia. I don't have it up. We don't have a document.
Oh, but they should have it.
Yeah, you have Olivia after that framework. This is how it'll show up on the computer screen. And they give you the scenario at the top. Midway through the school year, Olivia, a 3rd grade student, reads aloud a passage from an unfamiliar text. As Olivia reads, the teacher notes her performance on a separate copy of the text. Below is the teacher's record of Olivia's oral reading performance, and the key is on top. So you read through it, keep those 4 or 5 points in mind, what lens you're looking through. You can do a T-chart, strengths one side, weaknesses other with the patterns. Now you can work in pairs or threes or however you want, or by yourself. I'll give you a few minutes to go through that part of it, what you find as the strengths and the weaknesses. And always think about why too. It's multiple times that Olivia is going through this. Feel free to write on this. This will be scanned and sent out for our virtual people and for yourself as well. Elaborate as a group of five now. So, as you look at this part, and we're in a brave safe space here, so don't be afraid to take risks. What do you think might be the strengths and or weaknesses that you found, and what were some patterns? And we don't have a doc cam, so we'll just go off our.
Yeah, she's. All right, what do people find as a strength for Amelia? What was she doing well?
Like self-monitoring and correcting herself.
With what? With these systems, yeah, these systems, with what was she doing self-correcting well with?
I would say that she's probably using like comprehension to be able to correct her miscues.
But pattern, what works?
Yes,
Yeah, you
Always
gotta-
have it.
there you go,
And you list them.
you list
You have
them,
to give-
Example.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to give it.
always give examples, she has a strength in this, for example,
At least three of them.
at least three, yeah,
Because,
you got support.
somewhere. Forecast. What's that, the weather forecast? Sun. Screen.
Sunscreen, so think about those words, somewhere, forecast,
Exactly, it seems like,
so
there's a
how,
miscue.
yeah, how many, okay, so those words, just, those words that you use, how many syllables do those words have? Somewhere, two, most of, right now, umbrella, she did get that one, umbrella, so a lot of multi-syllable words, two-syllable words she did well with, she self-corrected them. Alright, what, there is something else that you could say, okay, it doesn't matter, as long as you find evidence, right, support, was there something else that she did very well with? And I always say this is like the first thing you look for. Yeah, she actually did very well with sight words, because the second grader should know a lot of those sight words. So, because we're gonna show you some examples of of two good responses, she did very well with sight words. That's the first thing I always look, because when has sight words, she's more automatic with her reading, okay? She didn't have too many pauses either, alright, but I would say stick with the sight word thing or the multi-syllable words you did well, right? Now, what would be her weakness as she's doing this running record?
Multi-syllable words, I was trying to figure
Uh-huh,
out.
yes.
So I see the WH, CT, just kind of CR, so it seems like consonant blends. This, or tripping her up at first. And this is not all blending.
She does what?
She misses all the R blends.
Ah, there, yeah, yep. Yeah, she does. So she doesn't always apply her syllable knowledge then to a lot of these words all the time. All right, that's one thing she just doesn't do. But yes, she doesn't have the blends. And then you just list them, you know, that she missed. SCR, the initial ones, that would be something else that you could pull. As long as you can support it, you're good. You have to just have some good evidence, at least 3 things that where you see the pattern, right? Now, that would be then your first 2 paragraphs, make sure you use our framework. Then the 3rd paragraph now has to be about what
Direct instruction you would
yeah, very specific instruction of what you would do now for our little friend here. What would you do to teach her? All right, so blank requires direct instruction in blank. And then which you would benefit from explicit teaching of, and then explain what, then you would say why. What would you do for her?
And it's good to use the words explicit,
Explicit, yeah.
modeling is good.
Yes, oh yeah, always use those words. I would use explicit instruction in teaching blends. I would model, so those are 2 big keywords
Yes.
always. All right.
Model syllables or, yeah,
And then the last paragraph is why, explain the instruction, you know, what would it look like? And then why would this intervention work for her? Why would it be helpful?
yeah, and just come out strong. This intervention or instructional strategy would be effective because it, and if, well, we could have them turn too, so they don't build off, you don't have a schema with it. Turn to the
If you flip over the
next page.
next page.
We have an answer key.
There is a first strong response, and then we have a second one. All right, so you guys you nailed it. And again, as long as you support it, you're okay. Because somebody might find the multi-syllable words, someone found the blends, someone found sight words. Those are all good things, as long as you
Yeah.
support it.
And you have it, if you have it in your head, you just have to put it down. Just be explicit in your writing and then go back and read it. And we would say oral read it, but we know we want to be careful. They think you might be talking into a Bluetooth or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so the strong response, you know, talks about the single syllables, automaticity, decoding longer, more complex multi-syllable words. And then they said would have identify syllable types, and that's a biggie now for phonics. You know, making sure they know where to split it. Two constants the same, you split it down the middle. You split it, you know, be right after the vowel. So you need to know the syllable types also. That's really important. And then, of course, the last paragraph, what they'll explain or build her knowledge of the syllable types. And then we have a second example of a strong response on the next page. All right, and again, this one, it nailed the sight words as a strength. And then you went back to the foundational skills and it talked about blends. So you guys did have it, but now you can see it sort of written out how this person put the paragraphs together. All right.
So,
All right, any questions about the running record component? Yes.
So I'm looking at the second sample strong response.
Uh-huh,
So we're typing these answers.
yes, yes.
I see they have all the symbols. Like when they're showing how she sounded it out.
the second,
Yeah, like the second paragraph of the second strong response.
oh, they put how she decoded it with the schwa and all.
I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if the computer,
Yeah, I don't think you have to do that. No.
yeah, I don't think the computer's gonna do that, right?
Okay.
I would put like screen as ski, like spell it like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
just the letters.
That's a
Just
good
the
question.
letters. Yeah, that's a good question, yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, you notice Olivia requires direct instruction in this, you know. And then if you wanted to say, I would model by and then give an example. So those are big keywords to use when you're doing your responses. And they had phoneme, granted, they had mapping here. As long as you back it up. That's the trick.
Then as you move forward, it comes one that's longer to read, but it follows the same framework. I think you have that framework again,
Yeah. So
but it's a retell.
This is the retell, the reading comprehension, right? So again, same framework, you find a strength, make sure you have some good examples to use, right? Good examples. What is a weakness, right? And that's where your inferential, your
Right.
explicit, what all those big terms are gonna come in.
Schema will come in
Schema
because it's
will come in,
right. You're not looking at the word structure, phony, that because he's Yeah.
monitoring, all right, what do they require instruction in? And what would you do? And then again, I would model showing or explicit instruction in, and then list it, all right?
so
When the running record, I always, the first thing, it's gonna probably be a second or third grader again, okay? Look for, in their retell, are they telling it in order? Okay, are they explicitly going from, beginning to the next, to the next, to the next? I always look for that first. All right, I always look to see in their retell, can they tell me everything in order? Right? Then, after that, I look for inferencing. Those are the two I always look for, can they make inferences? And then they'll usually say, well, I'm thinking the author's saying this. All right, or I'm thinking that it might mean this.
Right.
When they do their retell, but always the first thing is, can they tell it in order? For the retell, that's the first thing to look for.
Right.
Then you can go back into the inferencing, and are they self-monitoring? Are they asking questions while they're reading the story? Are they stopping and thinking, I wonder what this means? And in the retell, some retells you might see when the student says, I'm thinking this means that type of thing. So always think order first, the framework, which is your basic, character setting, problem solution framework. And then move into the more harder level of the inferencing.
Right. And then as you think about comprehension, remember comprehension is linked to vocabulary. So they might not have foundational vocabulary. And sometimes they throw in things like idioms and figurative language and things like that at higher level of comprehension. But here again, it's a third grader. So what I'll do is read the passage to you, and then I'll let you read the student response as the teacher asks.
So if you turn the page, now we're on 63. All right, and again, this is what you'll see. You'll see an excerpt from a story, basically, so you have to read the story, so you know what the child is reading, and then the next part of the test will be how the student retells it back to the teacher, and then that's where you do what do I do, strength? Does that help a little bit more? When you went in, did you have to strength? Oh, see.
I took the class that you take before, and I don't think I got that much. I don't know, one of my coworkers, she had hit the FoRT a couple times, and she was like, when I took it after school, I didn't get the right information. She was like, I bought a $400 class to help me.
Oh,
Gosh.
Yeah, online, and she was like, that's how I passed. She was like, I did pass, but they give you a ton of resources, so this is way more. And I did stuff online, but it was there wasn't
no.
much just random resource, it was just random.
Yeah, it's right, so what's his, Dr. What's it,
Which,
our friend.
oh yeah,
And just tell him that what you're, the difference that you were getting.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to spend $400 on the class.
Cause I asked her, I'm like, how did you pass? And she was like, honestly, I spent a lot of money on
And you shouldn't,
big class.
you shouldn't have to have
And
that.
I'm like, oh God.
All right, so Dr. is gonna read you the little excerpt.
as part of an informal reading comprehension assessment, James, a third grade student, reads a passage from the children's novel, The Mighty Mouse Malone by Christopher Paul Curtis. Teacher explains that the story is the experience of a 12-year-old girl, Dessa Malone, and her family. Teacher has James read from a passage in which Des's brother Jimmy is singing the national anthem before a baseball game begins. Jim reads the passage aloud fluently and accurately. Then teacher gives him the opportunity to reread the passage silently. Following is the passage that James reads. When I'm writing or reading a book, everything else around me disappears. Father says it's because I've settled into what I'm doing, the same way my brother Jimmy does when he's singing. Clarice hopped up and down, waving and yelling, Jimmy, Yahoo, over here. I knew Jimmy couldn't hear. He was settling into his song. He cleared his throat, took 3 deep breaths, held the last one, and I won't sing, Oh, say, can you see? I'm not sure what it's most surprising about the first notes of any song Jimmy sings, what it does to me or the changes it brings in Jimmy. I have to close my eyes like he does. I can't tolerate anything that would interfere with hearing his voice. Listening to Jimmy brings to mind how Father used to swing me around and around by my wrist until everything became a blur, even though I knew he was holding me. I felt like if I didn't hang on as tight as I could, I'd fly off into the sky like an arrow.
That's an important paragraph.
Yeah.
Right there. See what happened in the story.
And it seems like Jimmy makes himself larger and larger as he sings. If I opened my eyes, I'd see he'd grown so much that he was filling every square inch of the park. No room would be able to hold him. Chairs and rugs were getting crowded up against the walls. His voice always stayed light and high-pitched and soft, but it was strong in a way that let on that there were stories behind each word. By the dawn's early light, it felt like those words were asking you something and telling you something and blaming you for something all at the same time. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, he finished the anthem in the home of the brave. There was no sound from the baseball diamond, the bleachers, or the people bunched around the picnic table. Then a explosion of cheers and a huge throwing up of hands. And then on the next page, after Jimmy finished reading the passage silently, the teacher asks him following questions. So what I'll have you do is just read this to yourself. And then as you read it through that lens of comprehension, vocabulary, think about strengths and weaknesses in James' responses.
Again, think about, instead of sight words, think about vocabulary, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and think about how he tells it is there an order in his telling his reading?
Just, yeah, you can take notes as you read.
Yeah. See how you're doing, all right. Now, again, there could be a couple of different strengths with our friend Jimmy here, okay? So what's one strength that someone found that he's doing well? Yeah, don't jump in.
I think monitoring for understanding, like you would asking questions.
Okay. Yep, okay, so you would give examples from the text by saying what? What could you
So,
use?
I would probably say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would probably say the teacher said, interesting, what's the narrator talking about? James answered, it's kind of dreamy, maybe it's a dream.
Okay. Anybody else have a strength?
This academic vocabulary.
Tier, which tier? Tier 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, make sure you remember tier 1 is, bed, dog, door. Tier 2 is a storybook vocabulary. Things that they would read in the classroom, like the word, I don't know, beautiful could be a tier 2 word, the word, surprise in a basal or a red reader would be a tier 2 word. And then tier 3 is all your academics, your science and your social studies vocabulary. So that's good. And then make a list, boom, 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 of what you found in the tier 2 vocabulary. Very good. Is there anything else that he did well? How was his story structured?
Beginning,
Like, did he jump all over the place, or did he sort of have a little bit of a framework beginning and end?
He kind of had like the framework.
Yeah, right, so he retold the story literally, okay? And in this packet, by the way, we kind of skipped a little bit. But there is an example, it's on 62, this open response item 2. Make sure you read that information when you take the test. Because it does say for using reading comprehension, because they have to know vocabulary, they have to use language structure, then it says comprehension skills, text analysis, literal, informational, what do they give you details? So always pay attention to the little blurb too, before you do it, yes.
So the question with the structure though, like I feel like in this response, I feel like it was hard to tell if he knew the structure, cause the teacher like
Right,
was prompting,
She was
like look
doing-
at the
yes.
beginning, like,
right,
so I feel like it would be hard to say that if he wasn't being like, oh. If he didn't say at the beginning, this happened, like the teacher's like, look at the first paragraph and like she kind of prompts.
yeah, she does prompt him, yeah, so again, this is your judgment call. If you have some really strong examples, again, as long as you state your examples and what you find, you can't count you wrong, because you're stating it, explaining it, and then you gotta back it up by what would you do about it. So if that becomes a weakness, then you gotta think about that one, all right? And actually, for both the strong responses, they do say literal was a strength for him, that was the one. And then the other was academic vocabulary, was the second one, tier 2 words. So those were the 2 strengths that they mentioned. Now, what did you find as a weakness for him? What was he not so strong with?
He really gets thrown off, when she's reminiscing about how father used to swing her around.
Yeah, okay, so now what would we call that?
Would it just be called like generalized comprehension, like he wasn't covering now?
should be more,
You
yeah,
gotta be very specific, yeah, I mean, that's what we would wanna say, because they really want something really specific for that.
Is it inferential?
Yes, yeah, he's not strong in making inferences, that's what you would call it. Remember, inferences is where you have to use your background knowledge, clues from the text to come up with the answer. So that's exactly what he really wasn't doing very well, all right? Cause he missed that whole thing, with the bursting of the cheers and this, it kind of confused him, okay?
yeah, because he's reading, but not the background knowledge or schema.
So because of that, he really wasn't self-monitoring. He wasn't stopping, and then doctors, read that one little paragraph, I said, this is an important paragraph in here.
Hmm.
So sometimes when you're reading the story, you can actually pick out, oh, what might be a tricky part for the student, okay? He's not questioning the text as much as he should have been.
And there was a lot of figurative language in there.
Yes, a lot in here. That would be another thing you talk about. Yeah, he did not do well with all that figurative language. Right?
Like he filled the park when he,
Right. Yeah. So he could benefit from. You would do figurative language. What else could he benefit from? You were to choose that particular item. Maybe self-questioning.
Right.
With the inferencing.
you'd talk about the teacher modeling that with the text and how
Right.
he or she, the teacher, modeled. How
I
to
would
do-
model explicitly how to, okay, for the intervention, direct instruction on figurative language, I would model by, and then list what you would do. I would do self-questioning, yeah,
Could I think aloud be an appropriate strategy?
yes,
Yeah, and you could
As
use
long-
like Post-it notes or a graphic or that he would be, yeah.
you would always say that, I would model
How,
doing
yeah.
this, yeah, always say how you're going to do it first. So that modeling, thinking aloud, I would think aloud, yes, all of those would be really good things.
When you write that, reread what you wrote, and then you move on. Where are we at here? The wrong screen up. Okay. Why don't we take a break? I'll get the right screen up and
Then we're gonna come back and hit.
about 10 minutes.
10
Yes,
minutes. The questioning, start with phonemic
Awareness.
awareness, okay? I think bathrooms are down.
that, yeah, right around.
Yeah, right on the corner, right?
Here we are. Phonemic awareness.
Kind of like all over the place now. I'm kind of like getting here.
Yeah, that's-
Piece it together.
So, okay, so I just want to go over this. So James demonstrated significant strengths, and so I can just say, this is the one I wrote at first, so I can just say academic vocabulary. And so it's here.
Yeah.
example.
So,
Yeah.
and then I would go, so down here, I would say, for example, and just list a few of those
Yes,
academic
try
vocabulary.
to do
Great,
three.
yeah,
Try
right.
to do
So,
three with them, so once you
three.
say his strength is, and then go boom, boom, yeah, try to
Okay.
list three things. Yeah, and there's a lot for this tier two
Um,
vocabulary. Yes.
And then tier 2 would be anything that's academic, right? Tier 3 would be
Tier
like
3 is like.
content specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
exactly,
just
like,
wanna-
yeah,
Like astrophysics.
metamorphosis, yeah,
Yeah.
anything that's
So-
science or social studies, that's what I would do.
Like settling could be it.
Dreaming
Dreaming.
would be a good one to use, yeah, that would be an example. Yeah, because he says dreamy too, see, dreamy, yeah, that would be a good one.
Everything disappears. Dreaming, everything disappears.
She needs to concentrate would be another one,
Okay.
concentrate, because and then it says concentrate, it says concentrating.
Right.
So
Yeah.
always look for patterns. What do you notice a lot of? Okay, and just list a couple. For example, I'm glad we have this frame.
Yeah, this helps.
I know.
So would this be a strategy? I'm just trying to figure out like what would be a strategy for me once I'm in there. So for example, here we use the word concentrate, but she actually used it in a question and he actually reused it again. So that would that be kind of like a hint of like that's a
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Right.
And you could use strategies like morphology,
Okay.
morpheme, to
Yeah.
understand that, yeah.
okay. Sounds
Correct,
good.
and, yeah, model that for him and then, yeah.
Right, there you go.
And that's when you watch the video running records, they'll do the same thing. So
Yeah.
that's the ones at the beginning of the packet. That's what we went over, yeah.
Yeah, we always say do those responses first. When you get to the test, Do these two first, get it out of the way, okay? Because then you can always toggle back. And then if you wanted to add or change something, but yeah, because these are gonna take a lot. The other ones are just multiple choice. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll try my best.
Which program are you in?
So I finished my program 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I did it in Concordia, the Madison.
Oh,
Building that they had that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
That's what-
Oh.
so you were a part of the capital program or? Yeah, okay. I
Um,
was with John.
yeah, I've taken.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Last time it's about 4 months.
Oh, man.
How were your responses? What did you score for those?
Say it again?
No.
When you did your written responses, you had to get a score of three.
That's the only thing I
So this should help you, this framework, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, because you just need those 4 little more points.
No.
Right,
That's
that's
why
why
I was like, I went into it and I was like, well, I hope this is, I hope I'm praying for the best. I kept praying before, I'm like, God, just please help me, give me the right answer, I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't know, I just felt, I didn't feel, and that's partly on me, because I just was like, well, I'm just gonna take it once,
Yeah.
like, let's hope for the best, and
Yeah,
I didn't prepare the right way, I think.
you have to know the language. And
Yeah,
this enough, and that framework, you know, we came across it, like, this is gonna be really helpful. This is just, it's very specific then, you're not just making up something, you know, you have something to follow.
yeah, because the written responses, I got to that part and I did the multiple choice first, and
Yeah.
by the time I was like, my eyes are
Yeah,
exhausted.
that's what, and yes, and that's, yeah,
Yeah.
one, the first year was in effect, I had some students, they came, they took the test and they came, they said, they go, I had to close my eyes and put my head down, they were, because you're on the computer, you
Yeah,
know, and we do say, take a chunk, you know, take the time.
and it doesn't help too, because the time is like running down.
I know.
So you look at that the entire time and you're like, oh my gosh, like, let me just go, let's go, and that's where I was like,
Yeah,
and
that-
I'm already in general, like, very nervous
Right.
going into tests, so.
Well, it's a nervous thing to be, you know, that's why we're saying do these responses first, get it done with, because that's where your concentration, you know, will go.
Yeah. That
So-
makes,
Can
that
you do
helps.
that on the computer?
Yes, when they take the test, you take tests, you can toggle back. If you want to like add something or take something, say, oh, I just remembered this, I wanted to put it in my response, so yeah, but do those, you know, do those first. Get them out of the way, yeah.
That's when I did it too. Yeah, I think we did, yeah, I felt like I was not, like,
really learned like the language, but
Yeah.
never like
how to
used
apply
it
it,
in
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
like, was helpful enough, and I was like you just do vocab sheets, it was like, fine, I make flashcards, but it was like, I'm not
But you need to
using
know,
it,
you
like.
need to, yeah, use it and apply it, know how to use
Yeah, I
it,
thought there was
Yeah.
little to no application of it, like in the class, to like practice how to like
right,
look at that.
And then there was this, we had this one thing, you could like join, it was optional, but you could do like go in on a Zoom and like listen to this lady like explain the exam, but she literally just explained it
Uh-huh.
and like just basically a grand explanation of like what the test is and what the questions are, but it wasn't like how to do it and
Yeah.
how to like apply it. So I was just like, all right, hopefully it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know, yeah.
All right, we are jumping into phonemic awareness and the different sections that are in. So these are all linked. When you click on this, it goes to here and oh. So it'll go into in-depth for each of these.
And again, read through Wisconsin standards, you know, just go through them before the test again, look at the foundational skills. Cause they kind of list a little bit in order, that'll be helpful.
So you can read these. This is the big umbrella, phonological awareness. What is phonological awareness? An awareness of sound. That you-
You don't need to see
Yeah.
anything.
Phonemic awareness linked to success. If you have success in phonemic awareness, early reader, you'll succeed better chance. Here's the umbrella that hopefully you've seen before.
This, I hope, yep.
Got the phonics, phonemic awareness. We're going to show you a level, which is really important.
Yes.
And so you're going to see questions about onside rhyme, alliteration. So here's one chart. I'm going to show you another one about the scope and systematic instruction for phonological awareness, rhyming, repetition, alliteration, syllable counting. How do we count syllables? Yeah, clap or hand under the chin, onset, rhyme, and then this goes down from the easiest.
To the hardest, so
Right.
that's something you really wanna know.
You do
definitely.
need to know this. I think this one,
Oh, there we go, you can, yeah.
this one is a little easier. So it goes from the simplest up. And so they'll give you a first grader, you know, what level, lower level phonemic awareness. And then, yeah, because manipulate, substituting, you know, vowels in the middle of a word or, yeah.
Cat to pot to piss, that kind of thing.
And in the context of the scenario they give you, if it's, you know, mapping words, a grapheme to a sound, is that phonemic awareness? Because, close your eyes. So how many phonemes in the word bake? Close your eyes, you don't have to. How many phonemes in bake? What do we say?
Yeah.
Sheep. Bingo. So yeah.
So anytime when you're reading the question, and anytime it mentions a letter, nope, phonics.
Never mind. A little blurry, but these are some of the things that you likely went over in your literacy classes. So broad awareness of sound, what I've mentioned before. The smallest unit of sound is a phoneme. The smallest unit, that's why we did bake with 3, cat with 3. So, well, this is just phonemic awareness needs to come before phonics. 4K, kindergarten, awareness of sounds does not produce a series of discrete phonemes. Rather, phonemes are folded into one another, like sh, pronounced as a blend. A blend is two. Many children find it difficult to segment at the phoneme level. And so you probably have heard, right, probably have heard about using, I'm thinking Play-Doh or word worms. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm getting too many things going on here. So, what in the heck? So here are what we've just talked about. Night has 3. Now I gotta move that down. This is phonemic awareness and the difference between phonics, which will be a question.
Which one?
Oh, past one.
So which one explains the best between the two differences?
And it already went up there. I don't know how to reduce this bar.
Oh, that.
Well, here we go. In which the teacher primarily offers support reading a word when a student cannot read a word in connected text, or focusing on grapheme phoneme correspondence in which students are taught explicitly to. I can't read that. Sound out.
Sound out each letter or letter combination in a
Yes.
word and blend the sounds together.
So this is a phonics approach. What do you think it is?
Look for keywords, beginning readers, that's a key. We're missing that bottom half there.
Mhm. It is D. The one we couldn't. There we
So
see
we're
it.
gonna focus on each phoneme first and taught explicitly each sound of the letters.
A kindergarten teacher engages a small group of children in the following say it and move it activity. The teacher says a two phoneme word. You can read those. The children slowly repeat the word. Not with their eyes, right? Phoneme. The children move a plain wooden block as they move each phoneme, lining up the two blocks from left to right. Once children demonstrate a master of this activity, which of the following strategies would be most appropriate for the teacher to use next to build the children's phonemic awareness? When do you think it is? And then you want to think about why. Or the strategy is to get rid of the red herrings,
Mhm.
the ones that's way out there, because it's
Gonna ask, are these like a lot of standardized tests where there's two stupid answers?
Yes,
Two possible answers?
exactly, and then
Yes.
there's two that are really, really close.
Yeah, it is.
Got it.
So if you can weed out, it's
Good
talking
ones.
about phonemes,
Right.
right, in a kindergarten classroom, right? So writing pair of words on the board that differ by one phoneme and pointing out to the children that the second word contains more phonemes than the first. So that's a writing,
Writing.
phonics, and so we can toss it. Exchanging the plain blocks for alphabet letter
Letter
blocks.
blocks.
And then helping the students, children do the same, say it and move it activity with relevant letter blocks using pairs of words that have 2 and 3 phonemes.
No, because it's not funny to go in it's not supposed to be looking and seeing the letters, it's always listening.
So would be most appropriate for teachers to use phonemic awareness, right? Not the letters. Say a pair of words that differ by one phoneme and encourage the children to generate a pair of words that rhyme with the target words. So they are not using letters, they're just saying it. So the teacher said B, ch, and T and teach. Or display the pictures for a pair of 2 display and phonemes. You close your eyes.
Don't look.
So what is it? Cheryl? What do you think, Cheryl?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, they have to listen to the sounds, but what's the next step that's gonna happen after they
Yeah.
do this, though?
Yeah. Next, to build the children's.
The question again?
Yeah, it's a confusing one. The move. I inserted this one. And I didn't put the answer down on your key. What? D, displaying, did I read that one?
Yeah, did you, three phoneme, the different is single phoneme, toad. Having the
It's between
same
C and D.
pictures from speech, saying a pair of words, encouraging children to generate pairs of words that rhyme. See, that's changing it though.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could be D because it's the same activity, but they're extending it to pre-phoneme.
Yeah.
Yep, and well, we didn't have the arrow come up for that one. Correct, D.
And then something like this can be used for kids, like
Yeah.
this. Tap it, they map it, and then they spell, or your Elconian boxes, something else that you could do with them.
All right, I got it paused for some reason again. Your screen is paused. What's that? That makes sense. Make sure that's scaffolding. All right. Whoa, let's go back to this one. You didn't see that. Now, how do I get rid of that? There. First grade teacher administers a spelling assessment midway through the school year. Afterward, the teacher analyzes student spelling errors, categorizes the errors according to their cause. Spelling error indicates difficulty perceiving all the sounds in words. Spelling errors indicate a code-based difficulty. Phonics, morphemic elements, orthographic. Several students in the class make spelling errors that primarily, oh gosh, I left it. Primarily fall under the category of phonemic awareness. The student's spelling development could benefit most from intervention, focusing on promoting their ability, which of the following? Identifying oral, onset, and rhyme. You know what the onset and rhyme are? Onset, like for the word grape, GR.
The rhyme.
Substituting target phonemes in spoken words to create no new words. Phonemes and spelling doesn't match. And then, of course, I put the answer up, segmenting sequential all the phonemes that make up a spoken word. Phonemes, blending oral presented phonemes sequentially to produce a target spoken word. Blending presented phonemes, but segmenting sequential, like listing them.
And they're
Oh.
first graders, okay, so think about first grade spelling words, they're gonna go three phonemes, you know, that type of thing. And then they need to say each separate sound.
Teacher is selecting words to assess students' ability to segment the individual phonemes in spoken words. So phonemes, lights are out. Which of the following words would require the highest level? You go back to that chart of skill with regard to oral segmenting phonemes.
To the highest level the kids have to deal with here.
Taking out the individual phoneme.
That's the key to this question, segmenting the individual phonemes. And which would require the highest level, so that's, and so in your question, there's some key things you have to know. So what do you think, which one would be the highest level for kids to do?
You would think fudge
Because
because
what?
Because you have to understand, well, it's three, four sounds going in there, and you have to understand where the E fits in and what form of G you're looking at, you're understanding too.
yeah, G can make many sounds.
Yes.
Yes. Mhm. But
It's a
not-
bar.
it's a but. It's not the ones with the E, it's the ones with the most.
phonemes that they have to
Those phonemes.
fold on into their brain, which is really hard for first graders.
Right, so they can, it starts at the lowest level, they can get the first and the last.
Right. It's everything
Usually,
in the middle.
and then you gotta get the middle ones going,
Yeah.
so.
K, aft. But remember, the CH is not a separate
Right.
one.
St. That's why those boxes help, or
Hmm.
blocks.
Huh. So the hardest one would be stamp, because they have to hold on to every single set phoneme sound. Right.
Then you'll come up, this shows up, there it is, matrix, like
Right.
this. They call
Lots
them
of these, lots of these.
charts, matrix. Use the table on the right to answer the question. Which line in the table is the underlined portion of the example word accurately matched to the term that is used that describes the phonics element?
So here's where you just have to know your vocabulary word terms.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
you've got your
important.
phonics terms in the middle, the
Right.
example, which one's accurate? Go ahead, Rachel.
Trigraph.
Because TCH is a trigraph.
Yeah.
There isn't really an L control vowel
No,
in
no.
real, or R control vowel for number 3, vowel team.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then consonant blend, no.
That-
Consonant blends are gonna be the beginning of your words. usually.
Yeah, they've got a prefix there.
Right.
Awesome. Now, your second grade teachers want to ensure that students become automatic in recognizing orthographic patterns. They are explicitly taught during decoding instruction. According to evidence-based practices, which of the following instructional strategies best, here we go with another one. So there's one that's good.
Mhm.
There's the best. Students' automatic recognition of new orthographic patterns to support proficient reading. See how they tossed around orthographic. What is
Mm.
orthographic?
Yeah.
Cheryl.
What?
What's orthographic?
It is the writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Graphic? Yeah.
and now here's the biggie. This one right away, you should get out the dumbest one. Which is the dumbest one? Letter. But it's not allowed anymore around here in Wisconsin.
Yes, you see this?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, we shouldn't put it up there, right? DPI is listening.
Because it's not even allowed. Right. Okay, so what are they doing? They're gonna do then what?
Orthographic, right? The graph. So look at D. Tactile
Kinesthetic
kinesthetic.
approach.
Writing letters and no. So now let's go to A and B, providing instruction in new orthographic pattern. Uh-oh. Implicitly. What's the opposite of implicitly?
Explicit.
Should
There
we
you
teach
go.
implicitly or explicitly?
There you go.
All right, so now we've kind of gone down, providing practice with phoneme graphing. A phoneme is a sound, grapheme is a letter, and various reading and spelling activities that focus on words containing new orthographic, putting them together pattern. And it should go, oh,
A.
it did.
And see, so again, this would be where you could use something like that, orthographic mapping.
So this is another one on print foundation, print carrying meaning, book handling skills. You know, it just comes back to early childhood and the background the children have in whether it was pre-K or home environment, in techniques with books, understanding books and print and letter formation. And I don't want to try to move that again. I'm going to read the question. A preschool child picks up an unfamiliar book, opens it to the end, points to the text, and begins to pretend to read the story. These behaviors suggest the child most likely has developed one of these. Book handling skills. Did the child go to the front? Nope, not bad.
Yep.
Right, because he knows, was it he or she knows that it carries meaning in the book, but just not where we're at. And now we're moving more deeply into phonics for a few more. And this is the list from the phonics or the 190 test. We're going to get into some closed and open vowels. Closed and open. Have you had background on those?
So open vowel means what? Okay, so an example of an open vowel would be. Yeah, so it means there's nothing after it. So you teach consonant, vowel, consonant, and that's where it's closed in. There's no one at the other end of him. When it's open, then he has nobody next to him. All right, so there's your open and closed vowel.
Here's the standards, which you can look at later.
Right, this is from Wisconsin standards. So these are really good
Yeah.
to know.
Phonics elements we've gone over. Semantic clues. Yeah, we
You can't
take
use
that.
this anymore.
Right. Syntactics is the pattern, the
Yes.
grammar of it. Sometimes they do ask questions about that. Automaticity, suffixes, prefixes, structural analysis, environmental print. We look around the room, all the print in this room. No, now here we go with the vowel patterns or consonant. Each pattern has different choices for where you divide.
So this is, so you should know your vowel, your division, your syllable division patterns, because that will be on the test.
And then what we talked or mentioned earlier about the onset,
Your
which
rhyme.
is good for making patterns and making words. Rhyme patterns include set of the most common endings. Like I said, I think I said grape or rake, take, cake, snake. The children learn how to blend those together. And these are the vowel, consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, vowel.
You need to know like the 6 syllable types.
Yes, you should.
specifically, Or
You should know.
how to like break that apart, like low K. Like, do I have to name what the?
Yeah, I'll show you. We'll show
There
you.
might be some like that.
sample of a
But one activity that's really, really helpful is spot, called spot and dot. So when you're teaching these to kids, you give them a word, they have to dot the vowels, and then you show them where and why. Because there's one rule that it could be the first right after the vowel, like right, or it could be before, after the consonant. So there's two that are very close, and the student has to know what would sound correct. So you should know the different levels. Yeah.
And the different consonants where you break.
Right, where you break it. Yeah.
And then these terms, which you should be familiar with, digraphs make the one sound. And then the blends is in the blend, it makes two.
Two sounds.
So I'm gonna read this again, so I don't have to move that again. Where am I at here? Phonics, vowels. All right. Which of the following describes an implicit strategy? So they are using that next question for extending and reinforcing phonics skills.
So think what
It's not-
implicit is.
Explicit.
Yeah, they want.
Implicit.
Yes. Make sure you know the two differences. So
So-
which would be the implicit?
So it's not explicitly taught.
Right.
Extending and reinforcing phonics skills. So if you're reinforcing, what can you throw out? Ones that
Yeah, yeah.
new words, new multisyllable words, we throw C and D out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems to.
which one?
Yes. Sort sets, that's pretty explicit, so it has to be there, yep. Just look around the room.
Yeah. What words do you see? All
Right.
Question next, which of the following instructional strategies would be most effective in promoting students decoding? multiple syllable words that are not multimorphemic. Multimorphemic means meaning, so they don't have multiple meanings.
Meaning, right. Again, think explicit.
And it's kind of what we went over at the
Mhm.
beginning. So it didn't say implicit, so you got to figure it's
Mhm.
instruction,
Stretched out, explicit,
Direct.
right.
direct instruction, direct teaching. Prompting would be more guiding. Yeah.
Right.
So they say teaching.
You want them to be able
So
to.
D
do-
is developing and reinforcing, C is prompting,
It's high frequency words too.
yeah.
D.
A is giving students, B is teaching them.
To divide the words according to common syllable types. That's what you want them to do.
Yeah, so you even match instructional strategies would be most effective. Giving students opportunities. You're not modeling anything there, right? So it's all these tricky parts. Teachers working with a group of learners who exhibit the following characteristics. The students can accurately read single syllable words featuring open or closed, open, and silent E syllables, vowel team syllables that make a long vowel. Students can accurately read multi-syllable words with open and closed. Which of the following set of words include appropriate type of syllables to provide the students with practice now, applying their knowledge of syllables to read decodable multi-syllable words? That's second where that bullet point is. Which one has multiple patterns?
Because they were supposed to be able to do all of those things. Open and close, vowel teams, silently. So which one would have like all of them?
What did you say?
Yep, that's it.
Boom.
Yeah.
There we go. Why?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The lines closed.
Yep.
Yeah. Table, pickle, and candle, no, they all have the silent E in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's why reading the question is really important.
A group of first grade students has mastered reading single syllable words, closed patterns there. Teacher would like to expand students' reading development by teaching them to read two syllable closed, picnic, muffin, trumpet, pretzel, invent, and frantic. The teacher could best promote the students' accuracy, efficient reading of this type of word by teaching them to use which of the following decoding strategies. Look at the vowels in a target word if they are separated by two consonants. Look for recognizable single syllable words with a target word. So she wants to promote, extend the accuracy. Which one you throw out? As we don't want kids to stop and give up.
E.
Yep.
Yeah, get rid of that one. Yep. And do you want them to go from left to right, saying each sound?
And then go back.
And then go back?
No.
No, because they gotta be automatic with the decoding.
So A and B, and they have the target words right in there that they're looking at above. Because,
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. Right, divide between the two. Yep.
so these are more focused on the roots, strategies, the suffixes, syllables, morphemes, analysis, so we can get to fluency. As you notice, these have been focused on phonics, phonemic awareness, and have been lower level or lower grades. A group of third grade students reads a poem aloud accurately, but without much expression. Right? Prosody, what we call that? Before asking the students text-dependent questions about the poem's content, teacher spends time focusing on phrase cueing. For example, the teacher asks the students to read the phrase that tells us or identify the phrase that describes after focusing on key phrases. Teacher conducts an expressive oral reading of the poem, focusing on proper pausing expression, especially with respect to the phrase they discussed. Finally, the teacher leads the students in an expressive choral reading of the poem. Engaging the students in these activities prior to discussing the meaning demonstrates the teacher's understanding of which one. Now, if I had a bumper sticker, I would have a bumper sticker that pulls out one of these phrases.
Think what she did in the beginning. That's a key.
Anybody ever heard of Tim Rosinski?
Big fluency, he's the big name for fluency.
I met him once.
Big name. I remember that.
I know. I
He's old.
met Richard Allington. Yeah.
Yes, we have. What do you guys think? Which one? Let's think what she did in the beginning with her class. Read the phrase that tells us, identify the phrase that describes. So she's kind of teaching before they read it.
There's a bridge that we have to build as a foundation.
There we go. Yes.
So if I had a bumper sticker, fluency is the bridge to comprehension. And sometimes that's where the breakdown, you need phonics, phonemic or phonics, and then fluency to get there. Right? So that's what she's trying, because fluency breaks down then that comprehension. That's where kids start, especially in third grade, text becomes more complex.
And it's third grade. Again, always pay attention to the grade level. All right, that's important because third grade now they're doing understanding with the fluency component.
So, 2 students in the class with a learning disability are successful in generating multimorphemic words when presented with familiar word base and simple suffixes, endings. However, when presented with a familiar prefix, base word, and suffix, they cannot generate any new words with the support of the matrix or a table. Which of the following strategies for differentiating the lesson would be most appropriate for supporting the students' development in structural or morphemic analysis? So they're looking at the structure of the word, morphemic, and then you can read these long ones. The long ones.
Yeah, I get.
Any thoughts? Ones you want to throw out or ones you think the answer would be?
And the key is they have learning disability. Generating words, they can't do that on their own,
You really want to scaffold?
right?
So
So,
A would not be it, right?
Right.
right, because
They
they
don't,
can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
Yep, good, nope, that's
Boom.
right, you got it. It always starts simple, very explicit.
usually something visual.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got? Anybody in the back row?
C and D have visuals, so C has the two box matrix and
Yes.
D also has the matrix, so that's definitely gonna help.
Right.
They're starting with common inflections in C and then they're gradually
Right.
using their own, so that's kind of like the gradual release of.
Yep, there you go, that's it.
Having the
Right.
students begin, right, a small two
Mhm.
box table matrix. And then, right, you keyed in on gradual release, right? Gradually, one at a time, just slowly scaffold,
And D is giving a greater number of AFIX, that you're not gonna do that, then.
simplify,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you can just keep going. This one, before we move on to the next, instruction in structural analysis is likely to promote upper elementary, fourth, third, fourth on up. Students read comprehension primarily by,
Now, older kids, what are they doing when they're reading?
Can you read the question again in the beginning?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's-
confusing. Instruction in structural analysis is likely to promote upper elementary students' reading comprehension primarily.
You're
Most
teaching
of-
older kids. Structural analysis, why?
Yeah,
Think about what structural analysis, what it does.
oh gosh, I didn't, correct. You got a 50-50 chance on this one. This is the one I didn't.
Oh,
Well, this makes it easy. You're gonna go A, you're gonna go B. A1, A2,
Yeah.
B1, B2. It's that mind thing. So you got it 50-50.
okay, now what's text structure?
Yeah, so that you're thinking structural analysis?
Right, that's what.
Okay, so text structure is how the text is organized, like problem solution, cause and effect, okay? But she wants to do structural analysis that has to do with decoding, breaking down words. and how it's gonna help
Words.
Words
They're actually analyzing the sources. They're
for
not-
the meaning, yeah, like,
Text features are like captions and bold letters and
Right.
glossary and yeah.
yeah, features are all that, those stuff in a nonfiction text. Yeah. Yeah, you wanna teach them the meanings, like aqua, what does that mean? You know, that type of thing.
There it is.
There you go, see?
Now I'm going back up here. This is a 2-pager.
Yeah. So here's so you have a matrix, a little box, you gotta read carefully.
Third
got it?
grade teacher uses word matrices as a strategy for teaching structural or morphemic analysis skills. Teacher models for the students how to use a word matrix to generate words. You don't just tell them to do it.
Mhm.
Combining a base word and root with one or more affixes. Following is a word matrix for the base word move. Remove, unmove, moves, moving, move it, mover, movement. Teacher supports in generating that list. So they do all of the prefix, affix. Let's go on here. Which of the following words that the students generated contains a derivational?
That's your highest level, it's spelling,
Yes.
highest level.
Oh, good.
There's a bunch of them that it's an action. Okay, this other one is not an action.
Yeah, I think it must be D because it changes, it's now and now.
Right, it's changing, yeah.
Highest level.
And that's not, and derivation is the highest level for the spelling where it changes, right? So they're not moving, they didn't move it, it's the person, the mover, right?
Fourth grade student reads on grade level, consistently performs well on spelling tests that are part of weekly word study activities, often misspells the same words and other familiar words in everyday writings. The following table shows examples of typical errors the student makes on class writing assignments and informal notes to friends. Wonder how a teacher gets those.
Yeah.
The student overall spelling performance suggests that the students would benefit most from a targeted intervention focused on which of the following foundational skills. Sometimes you have to reread to make sure you know. I'll move up. Applying common orthographic rules to inflected words, sound out and blended lettered sounds to decode a word, discriminating between consonant and vowel sounds, segmenting all the phonemes in a word sequentially.
Look at your example, form from. Split,
Yeah, target words, students spelled it.
hinted.
Which one would connect to how he is aligning, sequencing, spelling the words? Yeah, phonemes, right?
Yes, yeah.
They're not putting them in order.
And then they put inted, you know, that's what they, and the form for, yeah.
Let's go past that one and go to the next one because we have spelling.
Oh.
A second grade teacher frequently conducts spelling inquiry workshops with students to deepen their understanding of various orthographic guidelines. For example, in one inquiry, the teacher gives students a set of words that follow the silent E syllable pattern that include inflectional ending. Students work with the classmate to sort the base words according to whether the word drops the silent E with the adding the inflection. After sorting the words, the students must analyze each list to generate a rule. The following is a completed chart by one pair of students. Of course, then you have to flip back, right? Where's the question here? Some pair of students, such as the pair whose work is shown correctly, sort the words, but they still cannot generate a rule. It's when to drop the silent E. The teacher could best support these students by prompting them to do which of these? What do we say? Oh, went to it. Examine the consonant vowel patterns of the base words and suffixes on both sides of the chart. Back, I don't know if yeah, that's. So they had to evaluate those that with an E drop, inflection words without an E.
Right.
Tricky. We had that. Here's one on fluency. Working with second grade teacher as part of the lesson planning, the teacher analyzes the student's oral reading errors and plans instruction to address phonics knowledge and skills not mastered. The teacher's actions are likely to benefit the student's reading fluency most directly. So she analyzes, or he, reading errors, plans instruction to address phonics knowledge not mastered.
What does she want them to do?
What does she want to improve? And so which
Right.
ones does that? Accuracy, right?
Yeah.
Phonics.
It's not gonna be the first one because letter by letter, that's first grade now. You don't want them to do that.
Yes,
Like words when we're doing this test that like would help us.
I have some vocabulary terms that I can send you.
Yeah.
Great question. Yeah. We're gonna stretch, catch our breath. I guess it's been an hour now, so we're supposed to be,
Cause
We-
I look at them and I'm like looking over this and I'm like, what one would it be? You know, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I know it, but then other times I'm like,
Oh,
what
shoot.
would help me?
I stopped it.
Yeah,
Definition of equivalent sample. right?
yeah. Or like in the
Vocabulary.
test, you should look for the, like the word